Hi there, it's so nice to see you again. My name is Ashleigh and I'm the host of the Lansing Symphony's LSO Kids program. As an LSO kid, we have the chance to meet a Lansing Symphony musician and their instrument, hear from a local celebrity music teacher reading an awesome musical story, and have an opportunity to make something at home. I am so excited to introduce you to our first guest today. His name is Corbin, and he has a very shiny instrument to share with us today.
Oh, that was lovely. Hi, Corbin. How are you?
Hello, Ashleigh. It's good to see you as well.
So I'm wondering, what instrument is that, and what family of instruments is it from?
Well, this is called the French horn, though it's more commonly called just the horn now. We leave out the word French, and this is part of the brass family. You can see that it's made out of metal. It's kind of a brass-colored metal. Sometimes they're made and look silver, but underneath they're still made out of brass. And we use a mouthpiece on the instrument. Sometimes we can use an old looking one that's kind of tarnished, or maybe we'll get a shiny, oh, sorry, I bumped my monitor, a shiny one, or maybe a gold one, which is what I'm using today. You could even find wooden ones. Don't get a splinter from this. And so when we create the sound, all brass instruments have to vibrate their lips. And so we have to get them close together, and then we push from our stomach area, we push in what they call support, and we push across the lips, and it makes a buzzing sound. And so we use the mouthpiece to just kind of focus that buzz, and it's going to be beautiful. Watch out. I told you, isn't that a great sound? But then the instrument, whether it's a trumpet or a trombone, these are the amplifiers. So that's all we do, is we buzz on our mouthpiece that's made out of brass.
Oh, wow, that sounds like so much fun. I think I'm going to need to practice making those buzzing lips at home.
Yes, you should do that when you're walking around the street and just go, you'll get a lot of good looks.
I'm sure. That's awesome. So you've answered a lot of my questions already. I'm wondering, what are some of the highest sounds and some of the lowest sounds you can play on the horn?
Well, if one of your young budding artists knows a piano, they can probably find an F. And an F, if they find the lowest one on the piano, that is the lowest note for the horn. And if they keep counting up, the second F, to the third, to the fourth, and to the fifth, that is the highest note. So if we work our way down to that low one, and if we work upward, so it makes it a 4-octave range for the horn.
Is there something fast that you could play for us on the horn today?
Yes, of course I'd play something fast. I think I'll use a little movie music. Most people have seen a couple movies in their day.
Oh, I think I recognize that. I think it's from like Star Wars. Is that right?
I thought I just made it up. Oh, no, you're right. You're right.
Oh, that was so much fun. So can you play something slow for us today as well?
Well, the French horn is often used in an orchestra to play melody. It's kind of considered almost like a woodwind player in an orchestra. You have your oboe and your clarinet and your flute and your bassoon, and the horn player kind of turns into your fifth soloist in the woodwind section. It's kind of how it works. We also play with the trumpets, but we're often playing the beautiful melodies that you'll also hear in the oboe or the clarinet. So I'll play a slow melody, probably of Star Wars again. We'll see.
Oh, that was lovely. Yes, that sounded like Star Wars too. So you've played a couple of really neat pieces for us. I'm wondering if you can play something with some dynamic changes or dynamic contrasts. Could you play something loud for us?
You bet. And this one's going to use a special technique on the horn. It can be done on all the brass instruments, and it's where we use the tongue very quickly, like that. And so you'll be able to hear some very fast notes.
Gosh, I think that was Star Wars too. Is that right?
I need to branch out a little bit.
Oh, Star Wars is so great. I mean, John Williams, you can't go wrong with John Williams. So you did such a great job of playing that with such, strength and loudness. Can you maybe try something quiet for us now too?
Ooh, that's a good challenge. I think I'll try something not from Star Wars.
Whoa. Gosh, I think that was Harry Potter.
Oh, you got it. You got it right.
Oh, right. Yes, I know my movies. And John Williams. I noticed that when you play, you're only using like 3 fingers. Is that right? 3, maybe 4. How are you able to make so many different sounds, so many different pitches using only a couple fingers?
That's a great question, Ashleigh. Remember when we started, we talked about how the lips buzz? Well, we can squeeze them a little tighter or make them a little looser, and we can move. And it gets higher or lower. So if we do that on the mouthpiece, we're actually moving by our tension in our lips, and we make the buzz change in our mouthpiece. And whatever I do on the mouthpiece, it comes out in the horn. So it's the same process, and the horn is just, again, the megaphone of what the lips do. So a brass instrument can play about 16 different notes with one fingering. I didn't use any other buttons, no valves at all, and all those notes are available just that one fingering.
What made you want to play the horn?
Well, I hope some of your students were really motivated and they loved the sound of an orchestra and they wanted to play one of the instruments. Mine was not quite so adorable a start. My mother thought I should play an instrument, and I didn't want to. And so she kept on me and kept on me. And finally I said, fine, Mom, what instrument do I have to play? So she called up the band director, and they had a French horn left. And so I had to play the French horn. I haven't regretted it, but my mom helped me out on that one.
When you're practicing, do you end up practicing a lot on your horn, or is it just kind of easy for you now?
Oh, no musical instrument's easy, but we do enjoy what we're doing. It takes a lot of discipline, kind of similar to a sport. If you were a basketball player, I don't think you would stop practicing your shots. You would still have to practice them every day. And as musicians, there's many things like that we have to do every day. And since I'm an older horn player, I don't need to put more than 2 hours in a day. As a younger player, an hour is usually pretty good in high school, and when you go to college and more, it's often 3 or maybe even 4 hours on a brass instrument that you'll put in order to get to your best quality of performance.
Wow, 3 or 4 hours. That's like how much time I spend working on things in school sometimes. That's a lot. So what's your favorite part of playing for the symphony?
Well, playing in a symphony, it's like you're building a puzzle. You are just one cog in the wheel or one little piece of the puzzle. And sometimes you're the prettiest and the biggest color on the puzzle, and everyone looks at you. But sometimes you're the person in an orchestra that just does supporting stuff. I might give a rhythm, or maybe I will give a melody that sounds good with the other melody, or maybe I'll just hold a pretty chord underneath. And so the end result is that beautiful picture that we finish with at the end. And it's fun to see how the composer worked it all out and how well all the musicians can play to make it such a beautiful moment and a beautiful picture.
Oh, that's a great description. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about what it's like being a professional musician?
Well, you know, when you see the orchestra, in fact, if none of these students have seen the orchestra, they should go. We actually wear an outfit. Now, how many of you have seen the movie Doctor Strange? Doctor Strange has this magic jacket that does all these things, and we always put on our magic jackets before we perform. So I wear a white tie, so it's not this green shirt, but we always have to look our best in the symphony orchestra, and we love to sound good together, be part of the puzzle, and we also like to look very refined and classy together. So it's a great place to perform. You'll make lots of friends, lifelong friends. You have to work hard, but it's kind of like the end result is so worth it when you work hard. So it's a place you get great reward, and it's a great privilege to be playing a musical instrument because your parents will probably have to support you a lot and take lessons with you and all these things. And so it's a wonderful experience. I recommend anyone who's not tried a musical instrument, maybe this summer is a time to get one picked out and dust it off and try it for the fall.
Is there anything else that you could play for us? I love the sound of the horn. It's so unique and special, and it'd be great if you could share one more thing with us today.
I'll play a little famous orchestra piece for the horn. I'll make sure my magic coat's ready.
Oh, very neat. Thank you so much for sharing your horn with us today. I feel like we learned just so much about it.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Ashleigh.
Wow, Corbin, we learned so much about the horn and the brass family in general. I think my favorite part was when you talked about practicing an instrument is just like practicing a sport. I love to practice my sports, and I also love to practice my instruments too. Up next, I have a local celebrity music teacher. Her name is Mrs. Pike, and she comes to us from East Lansing Schools. She has a really fun story about a boy who's just not quite satisfied or happy with the instrument choices he makes.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. there. I'm going to sing that song again. This time, why don't you try putting the beat on your knees? So take your fingers and you're just going to pat your knees and see if you can keep a steady beat right along with me. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Nice work. This time, maybe you could clap your hands to a steady beat. Let's try it. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Great job. One last time. This time, you can choose how you'd like to keep a steady beat. Remember, the beat stays the same the whole time. Great job. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you. Nice work. Hi there, everybody. My name is Mrs. Pike, and I am a music teacher at White Hills Elementary in East Lansing, Michigan. And I'm super excited that you're joining me today to make a little music and listen to a story. The story that I'm going to read to you is one of my all-time favorites. It's called The Remarkable Farkle McBride. It's a story all about different instruments and learning how to play them and choosing maybe what instrument you would like to play someday. This story was written by John Lithgow, and it was illustrated by C.F. Payne. Oh, pity the prodigy Farkle McBride. No matter what instrument poor Farkle tried, whether strumming or blowing or drumming or bowing, his musical passions were unsatisfied. When Farkle McBride was a 3-year-old tyke, all freckly, bony, and thin, he astonished his friends and his family alike by playing superb violin. He went reedly-deedly-deedly-dee with all of the strings at his side. Reedly-deedly-deedly-dee, the remarkable Farkle McBride. But when he was 4, Farkle played it no more, in spite of his parents' beseeching. He shattered the records he used to adore. He smashed up his rosin, ripped up every score. He threw fiddle and bow to the living room floor, and he shouted, "Enough of your screeching!" When Farkle was 5, his melodical gift once again bore rhapsodical fruit. The woodwinds inspired his spirits to lift, and he rapidly mastered the flute. He went roodly-toodly-toodly-too with all of the winds at his side. Roodly-toodly-toodly-too, the remarkable Farkle McBride. But at 6, Farkle flung his flute into the lake. Notwithstanding its lyrical trill, he stamped on the dock till you'd think it would break. "That's it," he exclaimed, "I've had all I can take. That tootling gives me a brutal headache. It's so wimpy and whiny and shrill." When Farkle was 7, a different sound rekindled his musical flame. He became the most expert trombonist around, and the boulevards buzzed with his name. He went vroopity-doopity-doopity-doom with all of the brass at his side. Vroopity-doopity-doopity-doom, the remarkable Farkle McBride. But at 8, he declared to his parents' despair, and as everyone else might have guessed, "I can't stand the trombone with its blat and its blare. That racket is more than my eardrums can bear. So return it or throw it away, I don't care. I despise it just like all the rest. When Farkle was 9, both his father and mom were bursting with pride and affection. For Farkle learned xylophone, cymbals, and drum, the entire percussionist section. He went boom, bash, clang-a-ma-clash, all the clamor that he could provide, tinkly bing-bong, bumpity crash, the remarkable Farkle McBride. But soon he fell prey to his usual gloom, despite all the praise and the flattery. First a sigh, then a sulk, then a frown, then a fume, then an ear-splitting tantrum that emptied the room. I can't take it, he bellowed, the crash and the boom, and the clang and the bang of the battery. Poor Farkle at 10, howsoever renowned, reached the end of his musical tether, but then he discovered his favorite sound, musicians all playing together. It happened like this. The conductor caught cold. On the day of a major recital, you've got to replace him, young Farkle was told. Your cooperation is vital. So he took the baton and he gave the downbeat, and kaboom, the foundations were shaken by glorious music, bombastic and sweet, that filled up the hall and spilled into the street, music that brought the whole crowd to its feet from the instruments he had forsaken. They went reedily-roodily, vroopity-bang, bravo, all the spectators cried, deedly-doodly-doopity clang, the remarkable Farkle McBride. Since that sparkling night, Maestro Farkle McBride conducts all the instruments he ever tried. His happy heart sings to brass, drums, winds, and strings, and remarkable Farkles at last. This is a really big page. Satisfied. I'll see if I can show you. That's everybody. The whole orchestra. All of the instruments that he tried. And there's Farkle, proudly conducting them all. So, maybe that'll get you thinking a little bit about what instrument maybe you would like to try to play. Another little fun thing about that was this story is actually just words. And that melody is a melody that I actually came up with on my own. You can think of it as something called improvising. So I improvised the melody on that song, and I've actually been improvising the same melody for so long that now I just kind of sing the same thing. But maybe there's a story that you have at home, and you could start reading it, and then maybe you could give singing it a whirl. It was so great to see you guys today.
What a fun story and such beautiful improvisation. Thank you, Mrs. Pike, for sharing the remarkable Farkle McBride. I'm sure the students at East Lansing Schools love to listen and sing along with that story. I've been thinking a lot about pitches. We were talking about pitches earlier, or the different sounds that you hear on an instrument or singing or outside when you're listening to birds. And I had a thought. There's a way that we can make our own xylophone type thing that has different pitches on it from home. So what you're going to need for this activity is a couple of glass cups, some water, some sort of mallet type thing. Remember, a mallet's used to strike or hit, or we're going to actually gently tap with this one, and probably some parental supervision. Here's your at-home activity, making a water xylophone.
Today's at-home activity, you're going to need a couple of glasses. So I have just a couple glasses here. You're also going to need some water, and you're going to need a mallet-like thing. If you don't know what a mallet is, it's basically something that percussionists use to hit or strike an instrument to make it make noise. Now you could choose something metal, but
it's probably not the best choice to use metal on glass. So instead I have this plastic spatula and I'm going to use the harder end because this way it doesn't do much for my sound, but if I play with it this direction, it's got a nice sound going for it. Now, when you have an empty glass, that right there is when the pitches are going to be at the highest. So if you listen closely, that's a pretty high pitch. But as I add water to it, listen closely to how the pitch starts to get lower. Woo! That pitch got really low, and it didn't do much at the beginning, but then about a third of the way through or halfway through, it really started to lower the pitch. Now, I'm going to add another glass, and I'm going to keep adding glasses to make my xylophone. So that way, when I have glasses filled to different levels of water, when I have those glasses filled to different levels of water, I'm going to be able to play different pitches, different songs if I want to. And I know this is one of Mrs. Pike's favorite activities to do at home. And she was talking about improvisation earlier. And improvisation is a really fancy word for making up your own sounds in their own order. And so basically, I'm going to do my own little improvisation using my glasses. So you can have a lot of fun with your different glasses, and you can add more. If you know anything about a xylophone too, you know that xylophones have lots of different pitches, not just two. So what you can do is use a bunch of different glasses, fill up the water levels to different levels, and make your own xylophone. And have a lot of fun that way. Another fun thing that you can do is you can add food coloring or food dye, if you have that at home, to each glass and make the water colorful so that you can play on the different colors too. Have fun.
We learned so much today. Thank you to Corbin for sharing your horn with us, to Mrs. Pike from East Lansing Schools for sharing a fun story about Farkle McBride, and to our sponsors, Jackson National Life, Ari Olds Foundation, MSU FCU, and Comerica. I can't wait to see you again and learn more about the Symphony Orchestra. See you soon, LSO Kids. LSO.